Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is a very cool top 5 best stories list and I hope you enjoy. The Prowler is one of the first Spider-Man rogues I ever read about, and over the years he's changed into a superhero. Today I'm looking at his best stories. Over the Prowler character's history, there has been different versions. There's been 2 in the 616 universe, and there's been 1 in the Ultimate universe. My favorite will always be the original Hobbie Brown. This, on screen, is the Hobbie Brown Prowler from the video game Spider-Man Friend or Foe. He was a straight-up hero there. Prowler is definitely Spider-Man's most offbeat, quote-unquote, villain. So let's get into his top 5 stories. Number 5, Feast or Famine. This story was in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Volume 2, issues 7 through 10. The Feast Center alarm has gone off, and the Prowler emerges from the building. Spider-Man interrogates Hobbie Brown, and he tells Spider-Man that something strange with the finances for the guy funding the feast shelter is going on. So it's a little story with the Prowler and Spider-Man teaming up, though the Prowler isn't even in it much. It's a good enough story to place on this list, and the superhero stuff it is mainly is about him. Number 4, California State Schemin, Westward, Whoa. This was an Amazing Spider-Man issues 304 and 305. The company Transcorp has kidnapped Hobbie Brown's girlfriend Mindy and has forced him to go to LA to steal a chalice. So Spider-Man and Prowler team up to solve the predicament. The greatest thing with the Prowler in here is how powerful he is in this story, and of course, with the legendary Todd McFarlane artwork, you can't take your eyes off of him. In this story, full transparency, there's not much of Prowler, but this is Prowler being a hero, stopping thugs and working along with Spider-Man. It is a moment that shows the capacity the Prowler has at change and what type of hero he can be. Number 3, The Lady and the Prowler. This was the story for Amazing Spider-Man issue 93. The Amazing Spider-Man has been appointed the murderer of Captain George Stacy, and the Prowler is going to bring Spider-Man to justice, especially after Spidey had him do a favor. Right when Hobbie Brown gets back in uniform, he immediately loves the feel of power the costume gives him. And when he finds the webhead, he immediately attacks, leading to a little battle at Prowler's most powerful yet. This is a Prowler literally on the prowl, and this is the first time the Prowler tries to do something heroic, and unfortunately for Spider-Man, it means the Prowler gets very violent. I like this issue because of the action and relationship between Spider-Man and the Prowler. Hobbie Brown made a huge mistake here, and it was nice of Spider-Man to let him go now, like the last time they fought. Number 2, Creatures of the Night. This was the very first Prowler solo series. It had 4 issues. There has been a murder, and the Prowler's number 1 suspect. He's out to prove his innocence. The culprit who did it is a new guy called Night Creeper, a man who looks like the Prowler with a darker color scheme. Night Creeper's real name is Eric Cross, who used to work with Hobbie Brown. His daughter was killed during a gunfight, so he decided himself to get revenge on criminals. And later, Night Creeper was almost killed by the Vulture, who is a younger man now. After a few fights, the two heroes discovered they were on the same side, but when they teamed up to defeat a bunch of thugs, Eric lost control and would have killed them if it wasn't for the Prowler. Some innocents were murdered that night, and Eric couldn't forgive himself. For the Prowler, it is a grand adventure where we see him live his life as Hobbie Brown, with his girlfriend having to deal with his alternate identity and a figure from his past, who's an enemy now, returning. And it takes its toll on the guy. Prowler isn't seen as one of the top 5 Spider-Man side characters, and sure, his solo story here is cliche, but it doesn't mean it's bad, and I still think it's very entertaining. It still has some of his best moments. My favorite stuff is with Night Creeper. It's interesting to see some new guys so closely related to the Prowler from the past that their costumes are practically the same. The last issue is mainly Prowler hunting Adrian Toombs' Vulture, the most unique stuff in the series. He's trying to steal more chemicals for his plans, and during it, he almost gets killed by Night Creeper. To finish, this is Prowler's second best story because of the side characters inside the miniseries. And number 1, The Night of the Prowler to Prowl No More. Yes, these 2 issues were the Prowler's first appearances in the Amazing Spider-Man issues 78 and 79. Hobbie Brown is a window washer who is fed up with his life, feeling trapped in life and having just lost his cleaning job. Using the equipment he created for the job, he forms a supervillain identity, the Prowler, and begins a life of crime. He attacks the Daily Bugle for publicity, but a confrontation happens and he throws Peter Parker out the window. Thinking he's killed the guy, he runs away in distress. On a new night, Spider-Man stops the Prowler from robbing a jewelry store, easily defeating him, being able to not be affected by his gas pellets. Spider-Man unmasks the crook and finds out he's a frightening kid his age. Hobbie promises to go straight, and since he didn't get away with stealing anything and hurting anyone, Spider-Man lets him go. Yeah, after this story, the Prowler reformed. This was one of the tales for a Prowler to read if you want to see the villain side of the character. To me, the best and most interesting moment in a Prowler story is where, well, he's a villain and he turns a hero. It's surprising that this type of antagonist story doesn't happen more often. The only other one I can think of for Spider-Man is the villain Cardiac. I think this story has everything for the Prowler character. Prowler is unexperienced in this and still prowls the city, dealing with an actual superhero and the thought of killing someone. I also like how this also shows Hobbie Brown's life with his girlfriend and job. In here, he's one of the most relatable villains, definitely his greatest story. And so those are the top 5 best Prowler stories. Most of these stories had the Prowler as a hero instead of a villain. It reminds me of all the Silver Sable Stories video I did. I think nowadays most people think of the Prowler who is Miles Morales' uncle, the Prowler from the Ultimate Universe, which is a shame because I think Hobbie Brown was always just as good of a character as Aaron Davis. Today, Hobbie Brown in the 616 universe is the new Hornet, so that's interesting. I guess it was to further make his ultimate counterpart, the main version of Prowler people think of. Maybe also because of the animated movie and the new video game universe. So yeah, that was the list. Thank you all for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed.